Good morning. Welcome to today's presentation. Have you ever thought about how fluctuating fuel and energy prices affect capitalism and enterprise? Well, today we have a full agenda addressing the issue of fluctuating energy prices affecting capitalism and enterprise. First, we will define what capitalism truly is. Second, we will discuss what is enterprise. Third, we will discuss the problem statement and my methodology for selecting this particular problem statement. Fourth, we will look at what data is needed to address this problem. Fifth, we will review the data collection method that will be used. Sixth, we will discuss the data analysis method we will use to analyze the data we collect. Seventh, we will review the data and case analysis to determine if modification is needed. And finally, we will conclude with a recap of this presentation and address any questions that may have arisen. Now, in order to fully understand today's topic of how fluctuating fuel and energy prices affect capitalism, we need to first understand what capitalism truly is. Capitalism is defined as a way of organizing an economy so that the things used to make and transport goods are privately owned instead of being owned by the government. In layman's terms, capitalism is the privately owned and operated businesses that help create an economy free of government interference. Capitalism is synonymous to free enterprise, free market economy, etc. The term enterprise is used in many different ways and can change meaning depending on the context with which it was used. For example, enterprise can be defined as a project or undertaking that is especially difficult or cumbersome. An example of how enterprise is used following this definition would be, moving that underwater drill to the next site was a costly enterprise. For our purposes, we will use this definition of enterprise. An enterprise is a unit of economic organization or activity, especially a business unit. Now that we have an understanding of what capitalism and enterprise are, let's take a look at how fluctuating fuel and energy prices affect these two economic terms. The problem statement I have selected to address this issue is, fuel and energy prices are in a constant fluctuating state, causing negative effects on capitalism in America. A complete data analysis needs to be completed to identify possible solutions to this massive problem. One possible solution that may present itself is to monitor the actual prices of the goods needed to produce fuel and energy in an attempt to identify if the prices reflect a realistic amount. I selected this problem statement because it clearly defines what the problem is and what steps need to be taken to resolve or monitor this problem. The data that is needed to conduct this comprehensive case analysis are cost of the physical products needed to produce fuel and energy, the cost of producing fuel and energy, the cost of transporting fuel and energy to its destination, the profit and loss statements from fuel and energy companies, and finally charts that will show trends in cost versus price increases. This data is needed to allow for a complete look at what is truly causing fluctuating energy prices and how this will affect capitalism. One question that needs to be addressed before discussing the evaluative methods used to review the data in case analysis is, how will this data be collected? What method of data collection will be used? For this particular case analysis, we will use two data collection methods. Secondary research will be conducted to obtain data from external resources. We will also conduct primary research exercises to obtain raw data that is relevant to this case analysis. After collecting the data, the next step is to analyze the data. For this particular case analysis, we will need to develop charts that show trends. We will need a chart that shows trends in cost prices, a chart that shows trends in prices charged. We will then need to analyze these two charts together in order to determine if prices realistically reflect cost increases or decreases. We then need to review the profit and loss statements from the energy companies to determine if their profit and loss accurately reflects the trends in cost versus price. After we have analyzed the collected data, we will need to review the data and case analysis to determine if modifications are needed. One modification that may be needed is to conduct an experiment to determine if fluctuating price changes truly affect capitalism. This can be conducted through a simulation with the use of technology to monitor how fluctuating prices affect capitalism. This may be needed because the data we have collected may not present the solution we are looking for. We also cannot implement the solutions into our actual economy without having proof that the solution will be effective. This is why the simulation is necessary, because it allows us to implement change in a controlled environment without affecting our actual economy. To recap today's presentation, we have discussed what capitalism is, what enterprise is. I have presented my problem statement and methodology I used to select my problem statement, the data that is needed to address the problem, the data collection methods we will use, the data analysis methods we will use, and finally, how we will review the case analysis and what, if any, modifications will be needed to make the case analysis successful. Any questions? I would like to personally thank each of you for attending my presentation and hope that you have gained valuable information on how we need to proceed in monitoring the issue of fluctuating fuel and energy prices that is affecting capitalism.